Hey everybody, here's a video walking you through some of the basics from that first section. There's a lot of vocabulary in this section, so hopefully, when you did your little book exploration, you might have come across some of these already, and they might just be reviewed for you. So I'm going to go over the highlights of it. You have access to this document. It's in Google Classroom right now, and it has, like I said, all the definitions with diagrams and everything for your reference. So I'm going to kind of just, again, go through the highlights, and then we'll do some examples. I'll show you exactly what you need to be able to do, and then you'll have some time to practice it. Okay, so the basic idea of this section is to be able to name and sketch various geometric figures, not necessarily shapes. We'll definitely get to that, but very basic things like points, lines, rays, planes, etc. So a point typically represented by just a dot, and we'll use a capital letter when we name the point. So just make sure that you use a capital letter because lowercase letters actually mean something else. You'll see in a second. So think of just dots for points. For a line, you want to make sure you use the arrowheads on both sides here in both directions. So this would be a line containing the points A and B. And so we can name that line by simply saying line AB. Notice above the AB, we have the little, with both arrowheads on top showing that it's a line. So this is the notation for a line. You could also have called it line BA because the line does go in both directions. And then in this case, you actually can use a lowercase letter to name the line, but notice there's no dot next to it. That's because this is not a point. So this is line AB, line BA, or line M. And those are different ways you can name the line. It's the same line, it's just named different ways. For a line segment, has similar characteristics as the line itself, except it doesn't go on forever. It's actually cut off. It's like a piece. So it's cut off here, and this one I just labeled XY. So this would be line segment XY. Okay, or again, line segment YX. Because it's basically the points X and Y, and then all the points in between. So if you say segment XY and segment YX, they mean the same thing. Okay, we would not use a lowercase letter for this one. Okay, for array, it's kind of the little bit of both, line and segment combined. So you have, a starting point, and then it goes off in one direction forever. Okay, so point R is sort of the initial point here, and then it goes off in the direction of Q, whichever direction that happens to be, and continues on forever, noted by this arrowhead. So this would be ray RQ, but not QR, because QR would make it seem like it's supposed to go this way. So the order of the letters matters when you're doing a ray. So this would be ray RQ. And notice it's a little small here, but if you look close, there is an arrowhead just in one direction here to the right. And when you do the notation for array, this is the direction you would go. You typically don't, even though the picture is going kind of down to the left, you don't make the notation written that way. It's always just to the right because we read from left to right. All right, opposite rays is sort of a special case where you have two rays together. So ray BC and ray BA together forming a straight line. Notice that's a little different than what I had up here because I didn't show you a third point. So I can't just say ray AB and ray BA are opposite rays because opposite rays need to start at the same point. So these two rays start at point B, ray BC, ray BA. They do both form a straight line though, but for the purposes of the terminology of opposite rays, they do need to start at the same initial point essentially. Okay, and then lastly for the basics, we have a plane. Um, I know this just sort of looks like a regular, parallelogram or something, but it sort of indicates it's still going on forever in all directions here. Okay, it's going on forever and ever. Think of like a piece of paper that like goes on forever. Think of a wall that goes on forever. That's what a plane would be. Okay. So within the plane, you can have all sorts of things: points, lines, rays, segments, all the good stuff. Um, so this is plane V. Since there's one letter here, but it's not represented by a dot, so this V is referring to the plane itself. So plane V, or you can pick any 3 points that are not in in a line here, okay? And I'll explain that after, but they just can't be in the same line, and you can name the plane that way. Okay, if they were in the same line, you actually have multiple planes that could hit it, because you could actually draw another plane like let's say there was a point here. Let's say there was a point like this, like H. I could actually draw another plane that kind of passes through this plane that contain those 3 points. So when you name a plane, you just have to pick 3 points that are not all in a row, not all in the same line. They call that collinear, which I'll explain in the next video. Okay, so those are sort of the basic terms. Let's see how those terms would get put to use in some of these examples here. So draw and label a diagram for each figure. If they're telling me point W, I'm going to make a dot and I'm going to put a capital W next to it. That's it. Line MN, I'm going to make 2 points, M with N, and I'm going to draw a line through those points with 2 arrowheads. And the direction does not matter. You could have drawn this I drew it this way. You could have drawn it this way or this way. As long as it has points M and N on the line, you have yourself line MN. Notice I didn't use a lowercase letter for this one just because they didn't really give me that. But theoretically, I could have called this, lowercase a, and that would be line A. But they told me to do this, so that's why I put those 2 points. All right, this looks like segment JK. So I'm going to make 2 points, J and K, and I'm going to go ahead and connect those two and just stop. No arrowheads whatsoever, just a starting point, an ending point, starting point, ending point. It's essentially 2 end points, and the order for those would not matter as well. And then lastly, this looks like a ray. If you look closely, there is an arrowhead there. So it's ray EF. So I'm going to start at E, and let's put F over here just for fun. Doesn't really matter. As long as I'm going in that direction, this would be the diagram for ray EF. Now let's try the other way. Let's look at these pictures and see if we can come up with the symbols for it. So the notation and whatnot. So this is point C and point D. It looks like it's got 2 arrowheads. So this is line CD, or you could have said line DC, and that would be okay as well. And if I'm going to use words, I'm just going to simply say line CD. I'm not a fan of writing it this way. Sometimes it's easier to type it this way because you don't always have access to the symbols. So it does, it has its place. But typically, this is the way you're going to see it. Okay, no pun intended. See, get it, get it, get it, get it. All right. So this one looks like a ray now because we have a starting point and it's going off in one direction. So I'm starting at S, I'm passing through T, and I'm going on forever in that direction. And that would be ray ST. Okay, again, I have to follow the order that it gave me. So if you were thinking to put ray TS, that sort of would imply that I'm starting at T and going in this direction instead. So they do mean different things when it comes to rays. And then lastly, looks like we have ourselves a segment WX, WX with a segment symbol on top. And of course, I could have also written that XW with a segment symbol on top. And this would be called segment WX. Okay, so you have a line, you have a ray, you have a segment, all made up of points. All right, let's check out this one. Name the plane 2 different ways. So this is what we went over in the last vocabulary box there. We have plane. So the first thing I always look for is there a letter without a point? Like, is there a letter without a dot? So this looks like a Q. Mine's a little fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure that's plane Q. So I'm going to say plane Q. And that's one way. The second way is to literally just list out the 3 points. As long as they're not in the same line, you can. Sorry, I'm being interrupted by Twizzlers. As you can see, she's making it a little difficult for me to continue with this video, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to plow through. Let's go back and at least finish this one here. She keeps standing up right in my face. All right, so we have LMN, so plane LMN, and the order of those points don't matter either. As long as those points aren't in a line, you can use those 3 points to name the plane. Notice I did not say L, M, N, Q. First of all, that would be 4 letters, and you don't need 4 letters for a plane. But also, Q is not a point. Q is representing the entire plane. And then, of course, you could have said MLN or NML, but I'm not going to list them all. You don't need to. Okay, so there's your introduction to all the basic vocabulary, points, lines, and planes. You have rays, you have segments kind of mixed in there as well. Hopefully that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.